Welcome back into KIRO Nights. I'm G. Scott. Happy Monday to all of you. I got to say, for President Trump, it may have been the best day of his tenure so far. The darkest, most ominous cloud hanging over this presidency, a conversation that we have all been having for about 22 months as special counsel Rob Mueller and his team have been investigating President Trump and the possibility of his collusion or even obstruction of justice. Now, what's going to be happening right now is I decided to bring on a friend of mine. He hosts a show weekdays from noon to 3 on KTTH daily. He and we have conversations, and it's a conversation that I always look forward to having because I always trust his word, and I thought I should bring him on to have a conversation in front of all of you. Michael Medved joins me right now. Michael, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, G. Thanks for the kind words. And it is, you were saying the best day of Trump's presidency. This may be the best day of his life. You know, most people that say, well, the best day of my life was the day I got married.
Right.
Except I don't think you'd say that about any of his 3 marriages. That was not. This was like bar mitzvah day for him. It was 18th birthday. It's everything and Christmas all rolled into one. Because and what's fascinating to me, and I think it's actually very funny, is after having said, I think someone has estimated it was 200 times, he has tweeted out something about this being a hoax, this being the biggest scandal. It's a witch hunt. It's a corrupt witch hunt. It's an illegal witch hunt. It's a phony witch hunt. It's a hoax. It's a scandal. And they have 13 angry Democrats, and they're all going after him. All of a sudden, he was asked today, do you think that Mueller handled this honorably? He said, yes, he did.
Question. What do you think this is going to do for our country?
Well, I think it's actually probably a good thing for our country because I have always despised this government by scandal. I despised when they tried to do that against Obama, and you may remember the Fast and Furious thing, which was a great big nothing, and the Lois Lerner IRS thing, which was a great big nothing. All of this is make work for lawyers. And we've had – I just made a point. I just did a podcast where – I made a point that if you look back at recent presidents, the presidents since Nixon, the only ones who never had some kind of major investigation against them were scandal-free were Jimmy Carter and then George Herbert Walker Bush, the first President Bush. And they were the 2 one-termers. They both got voted out of office. But the scandal stuff is not a way to win. I mean, Bill Clinton was never more popular than he was when he was impeached. And you may remember they did that stupid, endless scandal with a special prosecutor against President George W. Bush about Scooter Libby and about the Valerie Plame and her name being given out. And again, spent tons of money on it. And Clinton, for goodness sake, they had so many different charges against him. And Reagan, his labor secretary, was forced to resign because he had a special prosecutor against him, Ray Donovan. Reagan had the Iran-Contra thing, which went on and on and on, and the president had to apologize. Reagan is now remembered as a great president by most people, most historians, and he also left office very, very popular. So I think what's wrong about this, and this is part of what was so terrible, and I agree with you. I think this has been a terrible time for our country. And I think Trump, dare I say it, I think he has not been a successful president. I think he's been a dangerous president, and I worry about the future with Trump. But we're going to be stuck with him unless the Democrats in Capitol Hill stop investigating and start legislating. We did not elect these folks to go to Washington and investigate Trump. People who voted for Democrats to put Democrats in control of Congress want to see some action. They want to see something done about this DACA program and about the Dreamers and about I just got this other story. It's an awful story about a flight attendant. Have you followed this one, G?
No, go ahead.
That's an incredible story. It's a young woman, I forget her name. She's 32. She was brought to the country when she was 3 years old from Peru. She's a flight attendant for Mesa Airlines.
Oh, she was held for a month.
She's still being held. She isn't out yet. And she's 32, no criminal record. She's married to an American citizen. And because President Trump screwed up the DACA program, and because the stupid morons in Congress haven't done anything to do something that 90% of Americans, Republicans and Democrats and white and black and Latino, and everybody wants these dreamers to have the right to become American. Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And we've done nothing about it. I mean, it's honestly, now, will there be more investigations of Trump? There will, but there'll be criminal investigations by, like, the Southern District Attorney in New York, the Southern District of New York, on this Michael Cohen matter. He has a pending lawsuit from Summer Zervos, who says the president grabbed her and basically molested her, grabbed her by the boop, you know what.
Right.
And then he also has the Trump Foundation, where the Attorney General of the state of New York, Letitia James, is going after the president on the Trump Foundation, saying it was a criminal enterprise, it was full of fraud. And what's interesting about that is he can't pardon himself because it's state law. Mm-hmm. The president can only pardon people under federal law, but the Attorney General of New York is going out. Now, he'll deal with all of that, but what will determine whether he stays as president is not going to be the outcome of any of those proceedings, because none of them would bring him down. The Michael Cohen thing, it's campaign finance violations. There's not a chance in the world that anyone will be impeached over campaign finance violations. Mm-hmm. It's just not a chance. Right. So basically, I think for people who worry about Trump, and we all should, because he has a great deal of power, and I don't really believe he has either the intelligence or the ability or the character to wield it effectively. For people who are concerned about this man, you got to vote him out of office, but that's going to require some kind of credible alternative. And the Democrats better get serious about finding that. They have 243 candidates, a lot of whom seem pretty scary.
That is the voice of Michael Medved. You can hear his show noon to 3 on KTTH. And so I really appreciate it. We got a couple more minutes before I let you go. This is a great conversation. The one thing that stands out to all of us is there's nearly a 2-year investigation, and it was summarized in 48 hours, and we were giving the summary of the investigation instead of the entire investigation, the findings. Why?
Because people were impatient, and I don't know how long the findings are. But I remember when Ken Starr in September of 1996 turned in, it was 96, turned in his
report on
summary on Bill Clinton. It was in 36 huge boxes. It was it was over 30,000 pages of report, which then got distilled down. They put in all the racy parts, about his private parts and things like that. And I think that people don't want that. They don't want just this dump of information, some of which is going to be very private and very personal. But I do think that that the Attorney General is going to need to release more.
Right.
And I trust Robert Mueller. I always have. I've always defended him whenever the president's attacked him. His nickname in the Justice Department when he was there was Bobby Boy Scout, because he was a platoon leader, Marine officer in Vietnam, Purple Hearts and Silver Star, I believe. And the guy's an upstanding guy.
Right.
And he wasn't fooling around here. He got plenty of indictments. I think he got 36 indictments total. Everybody associated with Trump who's been brought to trial has either been convicted or pleaded guilty. Yep. So this is not a joke, and this is not an exoneration, and I think Mueller would not say that it was. What it is a recognition that there's just not enough evidence to proceed with a prosecution for Trump or some of his other associates. And the one thing, and this was always my sort of one-line goofy line about it, is people say, well, do you think that the Trump campaign colluded with the Russians? I said they're too disorganized to collude with anybody. They can barely collude with themselves. I mean, and if you look at some of these emails with Don Jr. and the Trump Tower meeting, these people, they were making it up as they went along. They had no idea what they were doing.
Right.
They were rank amateurs and very disorganized, very underfunded, by the way. The only reason they took Paul Manafort, you knew this, right? He was working as a volunteer.
Never knew that.
No, he wasn't. That's why Trump accepted him as campaign manager. Trump didn't know him. I knew him. But Paul Manafort has been a sleazy guy. He's been dirty for a very long time. And it was ridiculous. And all of a sudden when I heard, and by the way, this is confirmed, it's in the press, that Manafort wasn't getting paid by Donald Trump, that makes perfect sense. As you know, Trump is known for not paying people to work for him.
Oh, yeah.
But none of that is impeachable. And look, I think what Trump has to do if he wants to save his presidency is, now that this is behind him, turn around and pivot. Try to be gracious. Try to be president of all the people. Find some stuff where you can work with the other side. They're not the enemy. They're your opponents. And for Democrats, okay, accept the fact that he's going to be president for another year and a half, at least. And whether it's another year and a half or whether it's 5.5 years will depend upon the Democrats and what they do. I think the American people would love to elect a new president if it isn't somebody who scares them even more than Trump.
Very true. Michael, means the world that you took the time to come in and hang out with us, man.
Hey, thank you, buddy. Thank you. Thank you.
We'd love to do this again.
I look forward to it. And let's have a great week together and the best for our country and clear skies and a good spring ahead.
There it is. That's Michael Medved. You can hear his show weekdays, noon to 3 on KTTH. You guys are listening to the KIRO Nights. I am G. Scott.